is Wojtek Paprota, and I'm a founder and CEO of a company called Worldmore. And what we decided to do is to tap into the era of payments done by your hands. And I'm going to show you how it works. So first of all, let's talk about the general idea of smart implants, what they are. Here's an example of the implant that you can already inject into your body and use for various things. But from the beginning, they are small, super small data transponders. As you may imagine, they are passive. They do not have any battery or internal source of energy. They are powered by the active device that is brought into the very small distance to them. They are accessible through NFC, which stands, of course, for Near Field Communication, and they are biocompatible. Biocompatible means that they do not get into the reaction with the human body, so they're completely safe. When we look at the general trends and reasons why some ideas win some markets and the other don't, we always need to look at certain factors. About the convenience, because if a new generation of technology is more convenient than the other, there's a high probability that it will win the market. The next one is safety. We always want something which is super secure and super safe, and there's no limit to that. The ease of use, if all you need to do is just tap, it's way better to use it instead of doing any sort of gymnastics or advanced methods to conduct the payment. Efficiency, if you can manage it from a mobile app on your mobile phone that you have all the time, that's super easy and efficient. If you can add to that implant multiple applications and use it for multiple purposes, such as payments, such as identity purposes, or even accessing doors, it's getting another advantage. And then the ecological aspect that we cannot forget about, because if we are using one device, one simple implant, it's way better than using tens or more than 10 cards for different purposes. So what kind of problems we are actually solving? We touched a little bit on that, but let's go for that slide once again. So in this slide, I will show you 3 form factors and how ultimately safe and convenient they are. So if we start from the wearables, they are indeed super safe in terms of carrying those tokens and having them programmed, but they are not super convenient. Of course, if it's just a wearable like a ring or bracelet, you probably have it all the time on your finger, but you still can forget it. So you still need to manage that and carry this wearable wherever you are. When it comes to the biometrics, they are super convenient because you cannot forget a hand from your home or from your office, but they are not super safe. Once, for example, your fingerprint is stolen, then you should not be using it anymore because, of course, you cannot also change the fingerprint. But implants are groundbreaking devices because implants are both ultimately secure and ultimately convenient. They are programmable tokens. They are programmable tokens, but they also have the same level of convenience as biometrics, because since you have an implant inside of your hand, you cannot forget your hand from anywhere you go. So what's Worldmore's solution? We are working on a complex system in which you can just scan the implant with your phone, then add multiple features to that and multiple applications to that implant, simply program it like the wearable, and just enjoy it. That's the ultimate vision that's the ultimate project and ultimate vision that we are developing and working on. And that's the most amazing slide and my favorite slide of this presentation, because exactly as it was shown on the terrace slide, that's, I believe, the ultimate goal for every company that is manufacturing any sort of wearables. In our case, let's imagine that you can use simply your hand to authorize your identity, authorize your decision to make payment, and also open the door to the gym or to your office. And at the same time, make purchases in the marketplace in the application. That would be an amazing and super convenient life. I'm talking about very cool ideas, but whenever we develop any company and whenever we are digging deep into the futuristic idea, we always need to support that idea with the data. And the data that I'm going to show you is coming from the study conducted by Marketa and of course Consult Hyperion last year on more than 2,000 citizens. And the first and the most important data that I would like to share with you is that 51% of respondents would consider using a microchip implanted in their hand to pay. And that gives us a very important sensation that it's going to be the future, whenever we want or not, whenever we can imagine it or not. But the majority of people already want it. Another cool data is that 48% of customers feel that the microchip would be useful if they were caught without a cash or card. And let's just ask yourself a question. How many times you experienced a situation in which you wanted to make a payment, but you didn't have a cash or credit card or a mobile phone to proceed with the transaction? With the implant, this problem is solved because you always have that mean to conduct the transaction. Again, the contactless transactions, the number of contactless transactions is rising year by year, but it's something that you probably are aware of. And of course, that ratio will grow and grow and grow. That's of course super self-explanatory that having a chip implanted in the body feels like being in a science fiction movie. And finally, 82% of consumers view contactless as a cleaner way to pay. So both from the ecological, both from convenience perspective, and also from security and safety. And that's the slide that I would like to describe the pilot project that we are already developing for more than a year. And as I mentioned, since 2021, we are already enabling passionate individuals with the first generation of the payment implants. I have the very first payment implant injected into my hand, so if anyone wishes to see how it looks, I'll be more than happy to show it to you after the discussion. And at the moment, those implants that we are helping in, that we are providing to those individuals are single purpose. So it's only for payments and no other applications, which is a great hurdle at the moment. But the cloud-based system will allow us to release some extra items, such as rings, bracelet, and cards, or new implants, also equipped with more applications, such as the ones shown on the graphic with multiple IDs and cards. So, as I said, it's already a reality. There are already people around Europe using it, and those videos that I'm going to show you are the actual payments made by actual customers who were keen enough to share it on their Instagram profiles. That's the gentleman from Poland. Done. Another person. So that's the real example of how you can pay with a wave of your hand. When we are talking about the product that is being injected into your body, we cannot forget about the safety standards. And first of all, I really want to emphasize that the smart implant in such a case like in m.o.t.b, it's not considered a medical device or a medical product. Why? Because it doesn't have a direct impact on your health and it doesn't measure anything, any parameter. Still, it's made of the FDA approved biopolymer, the one from our pilot project, and it also passed internal laboratory studies that prove the implant's biocompatibility. So it's exactly the same standard as all the other devices that are being produced by advanced laboratories. That's actually the same material that is used for devices like the ear implants that some people need to have to just hear better. And that biopolymer was tested internally in our team since 2018. And of course, since 2018, and with the pilot project group that started the participation in that project last year, we had no side effects, like really zero side effects, which actually makes me proud of that product and that project. We are here for the conference for the merchants, so I believe it's essential to emphasize the advantages for banks and payment schemes. So as well, of course. So because it also applies to the merchants, of course. First of all, it's the highest security standard, because whenever the customer loses card because he forgets it or just have it stolen, it's also the bank and the payment scheme that experience a dissatisfaction expressed by the customer. Let's imagine that you are not aware of how it works, and you call the bank, you call the customer, you call the scheme to make sure that the transactions that are probably processed by the person who stole this card cannot be refunded, and eventually it's a problem that still the bank and the payment scheme needs to handle. And in the case of implant, we need to say goodbye to the abandoned transactions. Like if you compare it to the e-commerce, for example, you always want to eliminate the steps that the customer needs to take, and it's the same case in the offline domain, because as it was mentioned in the study slide, there is still a number of situations that we experience every few days, that we want to make a payment, but there's either not possible to make a purchase with a card, or we just do not have a card, or we do not have a cash. Or we have the smartphone which is dead. In that case, if we have an implant in our hand, it's always possible to make a purchase without being limited to those standard payment instruments. Again, it's a shortened transaction flow. So if it's only about tapping to the NFC reader, the customer does not need to take the wallet out of his or her pocket, does not need to count for the exact amount of the cash or anything. So therefore, it's a higher probability that he or she will eventually commit to a purchase. It might sound like a super small adjustment to the process, but given how large amounts of money the payment schemes and banks are processing, even a tiny percentage makes a huge difference. Finally, it's a huge customer's loyalty. So imagine that there is only one card that is, or one card from one bank that is linked to the implant. So usually customers, individuals, have multiple cards from multiple banks in their wallets. So whenever we are making a purchase, we can say that the banks and the cards compete between each other, which one should be chosen for a particular purchase. In that case, if the implant is injected into the hand, there's one card being linked to the implant becomes the first choice for the customers. And finally, it's a huge advantage for the bank or for the scheme to be seen as a super innovative, because probably that's maybe not the best, but definitely one of the most disruptive innovations that we can think about. So being able to offer such a unique device to the customers is surely a huge advantage for the bank or for the payment scheme. Also, let's talk about the market, and let's realize how huge is this market? So firstly, let's assume that we are now only approaching the people from the US and European Union. So in total, it's 500 million people in those regions. If you take into account the number that was shown by the Consult Hyperion and Marketa, 51% of those individuals are willing to give it a try. So we already have a market which is SAM, of course, stays for serviceable, attainable market, and it's all a little bit bigger than 250 million. And finally, if we assume that the average percentage of innovators and early adopters is 3%, then we can already target as much as 7,650,000 hundreds of thousands of customers. And again, if we assume that the lifetime value of a customer is, I believe it's 350 in that case, the market that we are talking about is as large as $75.5 billion, a billion euros. Finally, let me tell you more about the validation, because we are running a pilot project, and it already allowed us to validate the business case, and we received very positive feedback from the targeted groups, which is of course the innovators and early adopters. The market needs are confirmed by the independent surveys and studies, because it's not only one study by Consult Hyperion and Marketa, there are multiple studies like this. Of course, there is already a number of confirmed banking partners willing to cooperate with us on a large scale. And it's very important to mention that the general idea and the general willingness from the customers to try a smart implant, not only for the payments, but for multiple purposes, just opening doors or identify themselves, is growing by 20% a year. And finally, if you haven't heard about Waltmore, I can assure you that over the last couple of months, we have reached an amazing results from our campaigns that resulted in more than more than 4 million euros in advertising value equivalent. So just to finish this presentation, I would like to share the quote that I really like to share, because whenever we are talking about body augmentation, we can hear an argument that we are not made to augment our bodies. But I believe that since we are the ones who define what the humanity is, we also have the right to redefine the humanity based on our experience and knowledge. So thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much for listening to my presentation, and I'm really looking forward to the questions that you may have for me during the discussion.